Welcome to Recently Logged After Hours. Which probably doesn't make any sense to you all, since I'm assuming this will be coming out at a normal time.
A normal time.
But we're recording at night.
That is true. It is technically nighttime by most people's standards.
I mean, the
sun is down.
I don't think anybody's standards of nighttime would not be now.
I guess
it's 9:30 and the sun is down.
But yeah, we're recording the night before we usually would. We usually record on Monday morning, right before we release.
There will be renovations in the studio.
Renovations in the studio
tomorrow morning.
Wow. But anyway, my name is Robbie.
And I'm Micah.
And together we talk about movies.
On this little podcast called Recently Logged, which you're now listening to.
You're listening to it right now.
This week we're doing something a little bit different from our normal episodes. For longtime listeners of the pod, you'll know what we're up to. We're doing a What We Watched episode, which is essentially we were too lazy to pick something.
Wow. Or we just had a lot of films that we wanted to talk about, Micah.
So we're going to talk about every movie we've logged from the 23rd to now, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth with it than we do in our normal ending segment. Actually, usually these episodes end up going longer.
Yeah, I was about to say, usually it's a bit longer, so strap in, I guess.
Strap in. I left on a business trip, a work trip, and I watched movies separately too. So we've got
I was about to say we watched a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot of variety going into the episode.
Interesting.
So strap in and let's get into what we watched.
Ooh. All right. Well, we're starting from the 23rd.
From Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
We watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes right before we recorded our episode on it. We got up really early
right.
and watched it, and it was very good.
And then I left to go to my girlfriend's house.
Wow. Bailed on the podcast, Micah.
And on the 23rd, the afternoon of the 23rd, I rewatched Licorice Pizza, showing it to her for the first time since I bought the Blu-ray.
Anderson, baby. We need to do an episode on that. It's so good.
It would actually be a very good movie to do an episode on. There's a lot to break down. Mm-hmm. Haley, my girlfriend, wasn't the biggest fan of it overall, but she still found it enjoyable, which is about what I expected. It's not really for everyone, but even though it wasn't in theaters, so it wasn't quite as captivating of an experience, it really shows, even watching this at home, how engrossing this film is and kind of addictive.
Right.
I really it's really infectious just watching the film and the vibe you get, and it does a really good job of portraying all of its themes and different things that it's going for. I think you can draw different stuff from it. I think it's a very up to interpretation film.
I'm nodding my head.
Right. It's very beautiful, both in look and in feel. And I gave it 5 out of 5 again.
Who'd have thought it? And that afternoon and evening, I watched a bunch of movies.
Apparently.
After you left, I turned on Daredevil for the very first time, the 2003 Ben Affleck one, and it was it was maybe the most 2000s superhero movie I've ever seen. It's not 2000 superhero movie, that's a little misleading. It's the most 2000s movie that happens to be a superhero movie that I've seen. Incredibly on the nose, alt rock needle drops every 30 minutes or so.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty good. It wasn't bad by any stretch. I don't know why it has such a negative reputation. It's cheesy and kind of weird, but I think it was fine. I don't know if I'd watch it again. But,
yeah, I wasn't
but it
really
was
that
fine.
interested.
I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Oh my god.
I didn't think that would work.
Micah just set his phone on my desk. And it began to charge.
I never have done the touch charging. I'm sorry. Wow. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. After Daredevil, I watched Max Steel for the very first time, the 2016 film. No one cares about Max
I was about to
Steel.
say, who's even heard of Max Steel?
It has that one actor from Ocean's 11 in it, and I kind of wanted to see it just because of that.
Wait. There's 11 actors.
The casino guy, the bad guy.
So not even one of the one of the main 11.
But he's in that. The costuming is actually pretty dope, and everything else kind of
Costuming dope, actually.
yeah, it's like cool Power Rangers level of good costuming, but
Nice.
everything else ranges from all right to like pretty just flat out bad. I also give it a 2.5 out of 5. And then after that, I watched Runaway Jury, the 2003 thriller, I guess.
Which I made it home for the very end of.
Indeed. It feels like a 90s thriller in every respect, I think.
Maybe-
Performances, writing.
Maybe it was stuck in production hell until the.
It's just been in post production since the 90s.
Like what's that movie that we just watched, like the King's Daughter or whatever,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was filmed in like 2014 and didn't come out until 2022.
It was crazy, man. But yeah, Runaway Jury, fun performances. It really is like a weird artifact it's like the last of its kind of like these weird book-based movies where it's like a pretty basic screenplay, but you get like a bunch of good actors, like a really great cast in, and it brings like a good energy to it.
Yeah, and I kind of know what
Yeah, I was about to say it's a good throwback to that sort of thing. So I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was pretty fun.
Very generous. Very nice. Then on the 24th, I was on the road. I was zipping. I was
Zipping and
driving.
zooming.
I was not personally driving, actually, but
I hope not. You were watching something.
I watched first Close Up. I think it's an Arabic film.
That sounds right. Yeah.
It's a documentary of sorts.
Is it, Micah?
It's like American Animals, where it's like a
Yeah.
documentary mixed with recreations of stuff, but in this one they actually got every single person who was in the real life story to recreate it for them for
Which
the
is
movie.
so crazy. Unprecedented.
But it's actually kind of incredible how good it was. Like, I felt like I was ascending to another plane of documentaries.
Wow.
If you can call it a documentary, which I kind of don't, but it kind of is. I don't know. It's a very, very cool story, and it paints all of its characters, or people rather, in very unique light. Because it doesn't really hop on one side or the other of the weird story that's going on, and it much more kind of explores the entire thing through the conversation of art, which is just so cool.
Interesting.
And it looks really great, and the atmosphere is outstanding, and the performances from all the real people are good for some reason.
Why?
I don't know.
Maybe it's just Americans that are bad actors, Mike.
And yeah, no, it's a gorgeous film to look at, and I would definitely suggest checking it out.
Very cool.
I gave it 5 out of 5.
Whoa, who'd have thought it?
I figure we go back and forth.
Yeah,
so.
I was about to say I watched an interesting movie. We went out and rented Umma.
Oh, I wondered if you like watched it in theaters or something. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, we went out and rented it on DVD, which is about right for this movie actually. 2022 horror film about mothers, I guess. It's very flimsily done. I don't know. It's a very wishy-washy movie. It kind of reminds me of like if Insidious was bad, that sort of thing.
Insidious is bad.
Insidious is
but,
not bad.
It's not that bad.
But I don't know. I don't really have too much to say about it. It's got some good performances, but it's just got a really, really weak screenplay. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Like it's not like terrible. There's actually some really good sequences in it.
Yeah.
But it like just any subtext it has feels very bleh.
Yeah.
And one-noted.
Then also on the 24th, on the drive still,
Yes.
since we were on a good old-fashioned road trip, I watched the 90s It, miniseries question mark. I really don't know because
I
it
guess.
doesn't feel, it's not episodic. Like it's not broken down into episodes. It literally, you could just watch it as its entire 3 hour and some odd minute thing.
Does it split it in like the movie cut of it? And there's no transitions at all?
I mean, there's a time jump.
Is there like title cards or anything?
No, there's no title
Wow,
card.
okay.
Like it literally.
Dang.
And oh wait, no, I'm wrong. Actually, there's not even a time jump because I thought there would just be a cut. But they do a really cool thing, which I was going to mention, in which they balance the timelines really well as they introduce you to all of the adult characters getting called back to Derry.
Yeah.
And when each of them gets called back, it does the flashbacks of their childhood.
Oh, that's actually kind of
and builds in a really natural way somehow. I don't know how they did it for how many people there were. And they build a really natural timeline and story of their childhood story.
That's actually kind of cool.
And then halfway through, it's just focusing on the adults. But I don't know why this movie has such a weird, bad rep. I mean, like, it's got some pacing issues for sure, but
that's a real killer for a lot of
but
people.
like not pacing and like it's boring, but like pacing out its like
plot points,
characters, I guess. Like a lot of the characters, like character moments and everything, don't feel that well explored and everything. But like the story always keeps interesting. I know people were complaining that it's like 3.5 hours and like it is actually on screen for like 20 minutes. But it does a really good job in cultivating the fact that like he's kind of like a very good sense of paranoia throughout the movie. And the nightmare sequences are super sick.
Okay, I'm very much interested in seeing this now.
And like I don't know, like this Tim Curry as it. I mean, everybody pretty much agreed that was good casting, but that's really really fun casting.
Yeah.
And I thought, even though, okay, the one complaint I have with this, I forgot about this. The one big complaint I have with the movie is the performances are super mixed. It's not that they're even giving bad performances. They'll just do like a really bad scene and then a couple scenes later do like a really great scene.
Oh.
Like these actors are not consistent at all, both the
Dang.
adult and childhood actors.
Oof. Could be bad direction, honestly.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I really enjoyed it, and it didn't feel like it was like super long for being as long as it was.
Why do you keep saying the name of the movie, Micah?
Yeah, well,
I really enjoyed it.
Wow, that's great. I gave it 4 out of 5.
And also on the 24th, I finally finished Moon Knight, the new Marvel show on Disney Plus. It was fun, I guess. I don't know.
Does the theme song get stuck in your head, Remy?
No, it doesn't.
It's stuck in my head.
I mentioned in my review of the show that I was like, did I just sit through like 5 hours of MCU TV?
Oh, it's so messy.
Just because I like the costume in the show. Yes, I did.
And Oscar Isaac.
I mean, Oscar Isaac is very
Oscar.
much a plus, but I just really love Moon Knight's costume.
Right. But man, such a mess of a show.
Very, very messy show. It needed, I don't know what it needed. It needed a rewrite,
like
I think.
45 rewrites.
Yeah. Ethan Hawke is fun. Oscar Isaac is fun. The costume's cool. Its story is paced out like garbage. I don't know.
Its story pacing is terrible. The way it handles
really
its themes throughout and like the way it builds on its themes is also terrible.
Yeah. Really, the last 2 episodes are the only episodes where I was like, yeah, this is good. I liked it a lot. But I mean, it's not bad. Like on the whole, it's just very mixed.
Yeah, I think it did one of those things where it's like they did that thing where if you have a superhero, they kind of tried to do like a weird origin story kind of thing for it. And it's like, oh, after these last 2 episodes, now that this is like a fully fleshed out thing, now we can have like actual good TV, which is lame.
Yeah.
Because like it was just so messy.
They do a really bad job of like actually getting you invested into any of the stuff that's happening until the last few episodes.
Yeah, and there's some fun moments in it throughout for sure.
It's fun. It has fun elements, mostly the performances and some of the writing and stuff. The cinematography was actually pretty good too.
The one Tomb Raider-esque horror sequence was fun.
Yeah, that was all right. But yeah, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It's not bad by any stretch. I just wish it was better.
Yeah, I think I gave it a 3. I think I talked about
Yeah,
it
you gave it
earlier
a 3,
because
yeah.
I logged it a bit ago. I finished it before him.
Yeah.
But that's me for the 24th. So you have something.
I do. I watched one other thing. I watched Something's Coming, West Side Story, a 2021 TV spot.
Something's coming. Something good.
Oh my gosh. But yes, we did a whole episode on West Side Story. Go listen to it. It's a very good movie. This TV spot is basically just the cast and crew saying, "Go watch the movie. It's good."
That's so weird. I was really hoping it was be like a documentary.
You know, it was still entertaining, like, because they talked a lot about like how it relates to the previous West Side Story, what inspiration it draws, that sort of thing. And it was cool hearing Steven Spielberg talk about casting some of the actors and actresses in it. So it was fun. I liked it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Nice.
Cool little thing.
Then on the 25th, I arrived at the little apartment condo thing I was staying at, and they had a TV in this apartment condo thing.
Wow.
And on this TV was like live on demand weird. I don't know what it was. It was free movies.
Free with the hotel.
Free movies with ads at certain times.
Cool.
And I was scrolling through. It was pretty darn late. I was super tired. I was scrolling through. I was like, I gotta watch one of these movies.
I'll watch one of
There's
these
a bunch of
movies.
movies that I don't have access to any other time. And I landed on the Simpsons movie.
The Simpsons.
I think just because I was super tired and didn't want to turn on anything else that I would have to be like super invested in.
The Simpsons.
And it was fine. It was pretty fun. I guess really most of my disappointment from it comes from the fact that I'm watching in a different part of The Simpsons where I genuinely just think the show is a heck of a lot better than
That's
this.
so good, man.
And I mean, it's still really funny. The characters are all still there. It still has funny bits and jokes and gags. The plot's fine. It's well paced. But it just felt kind of like less than it could have and should have been. And like, overall, as an overarching story and plot and everything, it doesn't do the greatest job of getting me invested, like, emotionally at all, which it tries to get you emotionally invested into, like, Homer's plot and everything.
Yeah, I could see that.
But, like it was fine. It was fun. It was funny. I don't know.
Good. I can't wait to see it. I've heard good things.
I gave it a 3.5. It was not bad by any means.
Alrighty. On the 25th, I logged a short film, Jack Stober's Rain, which is only like
60 seconds.
only like 20 seconds long. But I think it's fantastic. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Go watch it.
I think I've seen Rain.
Yeah, good one.
On the
26th.
On the 26th, I watched on the television.
The telly.
I watched Newt Moot Alley, but not the new Newt Moot Alley, the old Newt Moot Alley. Which, for people who didn't listen to our Nightmare Alley episode, I'm talking about Nightmare Alley.
Talking about the film Nightmare Alley.
The 1947 Nightmare Alley.
Yes.
And it was really, really good. I was kind of shocked how similar it is in like a lot of ways to the remake, like in cinematic language and story overall and characterization, and just like it's very similar.
I saw a couple of shots from the 40s one and I didn't realize they're like almost exactly the same as the new one.
There's lines that are exactly
so
the same.
weird.
There are shots that are almost exactly the same. It really is similar. And I like a lot of elements about this a little bit more than the Del Toro one, but I think ultimately the Del Toro one shines a lot more because it's longer. As much as that sounds weird.
I was about to say, so many people complained about the Del Toro one being way too long.
I know like that was one of the biggest complaints, but I really felt like this felt a little rushed on its themes, especially in its ending, which has changed slightly from the Del Toro one.
Ooh,
so while its filmmaking is still fantastic, its cast is great, the cinematography is great, it feels really ahead of its time for the 40s. I felt like its ending didn't quite hit as hard as I wanted it to, and I gave it a 4.5. Still a very cool film.
Fair enough. On the 26th, I watched, it finally came on Peacock, and I was very excited. I watched Ambulance, the new Michael Bay movie.
Ambulance.
Ambulance. But yes, I watched the new Michael Bay movie, Ambulance 2022, baby. I really loved it.
If it has unhinged Jake Gyllenhaal, you know it's
exactly. Honestly, I can't see doing a Michael Bay movie without Jake Gyllenhaal again, because he's so good in this.
Now, having seen like one Michael Bay movie, I feel like the one key element it's missing that would tie his filmography together is Jake Gyllenhaal.
Like an unhinged Jake Gyllenhaal performance, and that's what Ambulance is. But yeah, I'd only ever seen The Island. That's the only other Michael Bay movie I've seen, and this was much better than that. It has really great. It has a really like surprisingly great emotional core. Nice. That I was crying. I cried twice watching Ambulance.
Crying in the ambulance viewing.
I was watching Ambulance, the cinematic equivalent of cocaine, and I was crying. But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's great. The rest of the cast is great. The drone shots are great. Micah, they have drone shots with like ultra wide angle lenses.
Sounds kind of sick.
And they're so cool. I wish the editing wasn't as choppy. That's literally the only problem I have with this movie.
That's a big Michael Bay thing, is his editing is often...
I think this would honestly be like a perfect action thriller movie if not for just the really
Does
like...
he cut a lot in action?
It's not like egregiously
is it like
bad.
Transformers bad?
No, it's not that bad. It holds on shots for a while. It's just during some of the action. I wanted it, like the drone shots look so good, and I just wanted them to hold on the drone shots for longer than they do, because they're only like 3 or 4 seconds long usually.
Right after that, the drone like blew up in a fiery explosion.
Exactly. They're like, we got the camera up there, it's coming down. But yeah, no, that was really the only thing holding it back from being like perfect action thriller movie for me.
Nice.
Is just some choppy editing. But I give it a 4.5. Loved it. Second best, or my second favorite of the year so far.
You guys listening to this are missing the fact that Robbie talks with his hands so much.
I do.
His hands right in my face, like flipping all over the place while he's talking about Ambulance.
Flipping and flopping. But yes, go watch Ambulance. Good movie.
Also on the 26th, I watched Steven Spielberg's The Post.
For the very first time.
2017. For the first time.
Yeah.
It's never on anything, and I feel like it's kind of like
Right.
a forgotten Spielberg movie
anywhere.
in general. Like nobody...
Along with Terminal? What is that? What is it?
The Terminal?
The Terminal? Yeah.
I feel like that's even more talked about than The Post. Like that's how weird this is.
Right.
But like I don't know, it was exactly kind of what I expected. I can kind of see where it kind of gets forgotten in terms of Spielberg's filmography because it's just perfectly good.
Like just a solid
it's a great movie, but it's nothing like standout-ish in terms of Spielberg's filmography.
Like it's just another great Spielberg movie in a field of great Spielberg movies.
Like I know a lot of people complain about the colors, but like the cinematography and lighting and everything still looks good. It's just more of a gray movie. There's not a whole lot of like massive sequences. It's a very simple movie.
Good.
But what it kind of drives on is its really great
thrives,
performances and its really kind of snappy and strangely emotional story.
Yes.
And I don't know, it worked. It worked like really well. It got me super invested. Tom Hanks' performance was actually good.
Yay! A good Tom Hanks performance.
Which I know he's had so many good Tom Hanks performances, but like at the same time, there are tons of Tom Hanks performances that are just so dry.
They're just like, I don't know, man. With him, it's either like really fun and charming or just like extremely boring and dry.
And
I don't know what it is,
Bob, man. I have no idea how to say his last name.
Orkonik? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's my guess. I'm not looking at the spelling of it.
But yeah, he's in the
Better Call
Saul. Saul is here. And he gives a great performance. I wasn't expecting him to be here at all, and then he was just like, he was popping off.
He just rolled up.
And yeah, it's just like a really interesting, almost like political print media thriller, which is really weird, but it's really good. And I'm sad that people kind of forgot about it.
There you go, Yossi. If you're listening right now, Micah has seen it. I need to watch it still.
I gave it 4.5.
Nice. On the 26th, I also watched The Amazing Spider-Man. It was a rewatch. My mom had never seen it before.
She'd never seen it?
She'd never seen it before.
That's
and I was
crazy.
Like, that's so weird. What does there to say? Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And I wish the studio hadn't butchered out like half of the movie.
Yeah.
But Amazing Spider-Man, for what's there, it's good. The performances are really fun. Good ideas, good visuals.
Poor Mark Webb.
That's the movie. I gave it
His
a 3.5.
last name was Webb.
His name was Webb. He could have made the best Spider-Man movie.
How would you have a director whose last name is Webb and then not let him make his cool character drama?
They cut out so much lizard stuff. It makes me so sad
Right,
because the
and
lizard
like
could have been
if you've seen any of those behind the scenes stuff, they're like genuinely
so
great
good.
scenes. And even in like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and behind the scenes stuff for all of this, the cutout
Right.
scenes are like always the best part.
Stop
And
letting the studios butcher the
And the
Spider-Man
producers,
movies.
you got the releases of all the producers being like literally like, what are the kids into? EDM, yeah, let's put that in.
gosh.
Cut out all of this emotional stuff.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5. I think for what's there, I just want it to be that much better. Emma Stone is so good.
I'm
in
an
this.
Amazing Spider-Man defender though.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I mean, I give it a 7 out of 10. That's a good score. What else did you watch on the 26th?
On the
Micah?
26th, I watched Stanley Kubrick's Lolita.
You watched a Kubrick without me.
I watched
Micah.
I sat there as I turned it on and thought, what would Robbie think?
What would Robbie say?
what would he say to me watching Nightmare Alley, The Post, and Lolita all in one day?
And the Simpsons movie. I really want to see the Simpsons movie.
I was just watching all the movies.
You're watching every movie that I want to see.
I'm not the biggest Kubrick fan in the world.
You might be the smallest Kubrick fan.
He makes good movies, and this was no
Such
exception.
good films, Mike.
It was really, really good, and like really kind of uncomfortable and creepy to watch in a good
Yes.
way. I really love the framing of the story, and what they do in terms of like having the super violent action be at the beginning, to where it shows how much harsher the stuff he actually does beforehand is. Like everything he does.
I don't know the plot of Lolita. But yes,
I was about to say, do you mind
No,
spoilers?
I don't care.
So it opens on a murder. He murders somebody.
I did not know. I don't know. I don't even know who it's about.
But that's like the
I thought it was going to be about Lolita.
But that's like the least aggressive and like disturbing thing he does, and it really punctuates how much more like violent and seeming he is towards Lolita throughout the film than the actual murder he does in the beginning, which I just thought was really cool framing for the story as it goes on.
Who'd have thought that Kubrick is a good filmmaker and knew how to open a movie the correct way?
I think if you put it at the end of the film in timeline order, it would have been kind of lame.
Lame.
But it still was a little bit too long. I think it could have been a little bit tighter, which I know a lot of people have said it's one of his like less overall together feeling movies.
He's usually such like a precise filmmaker.
Yeah,
like he usually has such a good
even
grasp.
versus something like The Killing, which is one of his earlier films. This feels like a little bit like
a little sloppier.
A little sloppier, honestly.
That makes sense.
But there's a lot going on in terms of symbolism and background stuff.
Does
and
Lolita actually wear the heart-shaped sunglasses?
I honestly don't remember her ever wearing
I would be
heart-shaped
so sad if she doesn't actually.
or having a lollipop, but I could be wrong.
That's the whole reason I want to see the
Robbie, no. Robbie, she's like 15.
Oh no! But it's an aesthetic. It's
Robbie, it opens the opening credits are on like a prolonged thing of her feet.
Oh no!
It's a really disturbing movie.
I just saw someone with heart-shaped sunglasses and a lollipop, and I'm like, this is an aesthetic.
I can't believe they remade
so
this
good.
movie with graphic sexual content. I'm so glad this
Yikes.
was made in the 60s.
Right.
I gave it 4 stars. Really good, but not perfect.
All right. Fair enough. On the 27th, I watched a little documentary called 20 Feet from Stardom about a bunch of different backup singers from like the 40s, 50s, 60s.
70s, 80s,
Basically
90s.
through documenting the death of like backup singing as a career and that sort of thing. I think it won Best Documentary at the Oscars or something like that. I think it got a nomination at the very least. It was fun. It was good. Not too much to say about it. I wish it was a bit more, what's the word I'm thinking of? Engaging? Cohesive.
Interesting.
I wish it was a bit more cohesive. That's what I was thinking of. It just feels it feels like a video essay.
Yeah.
Like not a good video essay where they just kind of were like jumping from topic to topic without much semblance of structure.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was very good. It looked great, sounded great. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Good documentary.
Nice.
I liked it.
Do you also want to talk about the other one since you have 3 and I have 1?
Sure, yeah. I also watched Holes that night, the 2003 Disney movie, which it's so weird that, like, have you read Holes before?
I have.
Okay, isn't it kind of weird that Disney adapted Holes?
It is. It's a little
the movie
weird.
about like child abuse and death.
Which has surprisingly like sweet symbolism throughout for like a weird kid's book.
It's so cool. It's such a cool story. And Micah, the guy who wrote the book, wrote the screenplay for the movie.
Ooh,
so it's literally like a 1-1 adaptation of the book. You could literally watch the movie and be like, yeah, that was pretty much the book.
with Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf is great in this. Actually, all the performances are great. Sigourney Weaver is great in this.
Guys, it's just me, Shia LaBeouf.
I've never been like a Sigourney Weaver guy, but like Holes,
Sigourney Weaver, she
plays the main like bad guy or bad girl in Holes. And she's really great. I don't know. It's just like surprisingly great filmmaking. It's paced really well. Like if you remember Holes, there's a lot of like flashbacks and a lot of overlapping plots.
A lot of like dehydration and licking onions or something.
Yeah, lots of onions. But it manages to balance and juggle all of that really well. Really, the only thing that's dated about this now is the bad CGI on some of the lizards. Which it's really funny.
Lizards.
They used bearded dragons with like some body paint on them for the lizards, and whenever they like do like creepy fang things, they switch to full CGI.
Oh no!
So it's just like plain bearded dragon to like freaky nightmare CGI lizard in like 2 seconds, and it's really funny.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, great movie. I loved it a lot. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Nice.
Good stuff.
On the 27th, I watched Badlands 73. My first Terrence Malick film.
Yeah, everyone remembers their first Terrence Malick film.
Dude, I'm kind of in love with this movie now.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, gosh dang it, I don't want to. Terrence
You're
Malick.
gonna become a Terrence Malick fanboy,
He's
Micah.
so Terrence Malick-y. But I know a lot of people say that this is very interesting because this film, more than a lot of his later, like it's kind of the antithesis to a lot of his later films in terms of themes and everything.
He has a very interesting career later on, so it's weird.
Yeah, and this was such a engrossing film. Like
Good.
Every minute of this was doing something interesting, something really symbolic, something really dreamlike, while also being very aimless, purposefully so, playing into its themes. Yes. The performances are freaking amazing. It captures that, like it's like Moonrise Kingdom, but like different. I put in my review, it's Moonrise Kingdom for spree killers, and it's still kind of weird that this movie is about like real life spree killers because it approaches it.
True story.
Yeah, it approaches it in such a weird Terrence Malick-y way that you honestly forget that it's about them killing people because that's not really what it's about.
Whoa.
It's really, it's such a cool movie.
What if it was about humanity, Mike?
A Terrence Malick movie about what it means to be a human being.
Wow.
Crazy. It's gorgeous. It's such a pretty film.
Good.
And like I can't think of a single problem with it, honestly. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Nice. You gotta watch A Hidden Life.
And I've been thinking about it like nonstop since.
Gotta watch A Hidden Life, Micah.
I gave it 5 out of 5.
Good. On the 27th, I watched for the very first time Ultraviolet, the 2006 film.
By the director of Equilibrium.
Yeah, I watched Equilibrium and I absolutely loved it. It immediately went in my top 50 and I was like, I gotta watch more of this guy's movies. I don't remember his name now. It's I don't know. Look it up, I guess. But yeah, Ultraviolet. Most people know it. It has kind of like a really bad reputation, rightfully so. I loved Equilibrium with all of my heart, and this is not it.
This ain't it.
This is the same writer director for Equilibrium. You can very much tell. It's still very much like a what is the term I'm thinking of? Not post-apocalyptic, dystopian. That's the word I'm thinking of. Dystopian future government bad movie.
Yes.
Very, like I said, very similar to Equilibrium in that regard.
Is it like Equilibrium via Aeon Flux?
Yeah, basically. It's vampires for some reason.
It's an anime adaptation, Ruby.
No, actually, we looked it up because we were curious. This is an original screenplay that he came up with that was then turned into an anime.
What?
Yes, this was an American-made movie that he wrote that was then turned into an anime.
That is wild. I didn't know that.
So it's a future movie.
Something new.
It's a future movie about a vampire virus.
maybe they just thought it was so similar to Aeon Flux that they were like, yeah, make that into a manga.
And it's really, really bad. I looked into the background and production of it afterwards because I'm like, how could my boy make something this bad? But it turns out that it was originally like 40 minutes longer than this is. With a bunch more character stuff and story stuff going on. The studio took the film away from him and pushed it out like really fast. It was originally rated R. They cut it down to PG-13. They cut out like a bunch of character development stuff, and just straight up like plot points are missing from the story.
That's literally so sad.
That's like the worst case scenario.
Like really, like honestly, that just makes me actually sad.
No, I was like, this is so sad watching this right now because you can tell. Like, I think he's a great writer. I think Equilibrium is really great, and you can tell he put so much work into this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very ambitious movie.
And it's so disheartening because it's almost like incohesive as a film in the form it's in. I want a director's cut for it so bad.
Man, that's
but like
crazy.
VFX are unfinished. It jumps from like plot point to plot point with sometimes no cohesive through line. It's just really bad. Like, it's just a bad movie.
That's so depressing.
The production design was still very cool. The choreography, which, mind you, he came up with a whole choreography style just for Equilibrium and Ultraviolet, like the gun fu kind of stuff that he has going on.
Trampoline stuff.
It's even cooler in this. He has like sword magazines in this, and I'm like, this is so dope. But there's nothing there. There's no blood. Why is there no blood? It's supposed to be an R-rated action movie.
Does it aesthetically fit perfectly to have really nice blood in it?
It would have looked so good with blood. Most of the fights take place in like light chambers where everything's like white or solid yellow or solid red.
Man.
And it would have looked so good with blood.
Like it's made to have really cool blood violence.
The production design is so good in this. It would.
Man, that's really honestly.
It's such a depressing movie to watch.
Not only somebody who really likes movies and storytelling, but just like also somebody who likes making stories and stuff.
It's
that's
a creative,
like the most depressing thing you can hear.
It's like a creative horror story. He put so much work into this movie, and the studio snatched it away from him, and they literally didn't let him touch the production after they finished shooting.
That's so terrible.
And I'm like, it's really bad. Flaming sword fight, cool. Production design, cool. The rest of it is just really, really awful. I gave it a 1.5 out of 5.
Depressing stuff.
Sad movie.
And on the 28th, I watched Prometheus, or rather rewatched Prometheus.
Whoa.
Have we talked about Prometheus on the podcast?
Yeah, we mentioned it before. Very good.
Yeah,
We're both big
I really
fans.
like. I love Prometheus. I don't know why. I know Alien Covenant isn't as like widely received, and I know a lot of people just didn't even realize Prometheus was an Alien movie at first, so it got like really weird, like talk about. And like I remember when these movies came out.
Yeah, right. I didn't know Prometheus was an alien movie back when it came out.
But it's so good. It's such a really it's a really unique character study, and I really wish it like, and I'm hoping Keanu hopes that the Alien Covenant just dives more into David as a character. But
would be
what it's
great.
doing, like as a movie, is all really unique, really fun. The production looks great. The CG looks great. The horror sequences are super fun.
They're so much fun.
the-
It's such a fun little movie. I
The
don't
the
know.
surgery scene, come on, guys, that was so
Guys,
good.
The birth scene.
The characters are all great. David is such an interesting, like I don't know, he's super captivating from moment one, and that's crazy. I'm not a big like Michael Fassbender fan, but like he's given it 110 to
As
be
he should.
Robot Lawrence of Arabia, and that's great.
It honestly didn't occur to me that it wasn't just a robot until just now.
Right? No, like it
That's
actually
funny.
feels so android. Like you just completely don't even think about the fact that like
This is a guy playing it.
yeah, I can't wait for Alien Covenant. I know it's supposedly not as good, but I want my David content.
Wow.
I gave it a 4.5.
All right, we gotta pick up the pace here, man. I went on so long about Ultraviolet.
We did. We're getting long, Remy.
All right.
And you got a big stretch
On
here.
the 28th, I watched How to Murder Your Wife, Jack Lemmon comedy.
That Jack Lemmon.
Probably the most deeply misogynistic film I've ever seen, and that's saying something. Yeah, very misogynistic. There's some really good ideas sprinkled in here. I really, honestly, if I ever one day become an established director, I want to remake this movie. With good politics.
Oh no.
How to Murder Your Wife. It could be a really, really good satire about how damaging like toxic masculinity is to relationships, but instead it's just women suck, don't they?
Oh, those women.
But yeah, no, it's just a really, really misogynistic movie, and it makes it kind of hard to enjoy. Outside of that, it has kind of shoddy pacing, but there are some really good comedic bits here. Jack Lemmon is Jack Lemmon in this. I mean, he's Jack Lemmon in everything. He gives basically the same amount of performance energy in all of his movies so far that I've seen. So I liked him in this. Just the material's bad. But yeah, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. And then also on the 28th, I watched Embracing the Panda, The Making of Turning Red. Not much there about the actual like production of the film. Oddly enough, it's more about the people who made the film and why they made some of the creative decisions they made, that sort of thing. Very good documentary, one of the best I've seen in a while. I give it a 4 out of 5. Definitely check it out if you enjoyed Turning Red. And then I also watched The Last Radio Call, 2022 horror movie from the same director as Deadware, I believe was the name of it, which we mentioned before on the podcast. Very much enjoyed that, and I enjoyed this too. It was a found footage / mockumentary horror film. Not
Really,
as good.
Really weird.
Not as good as Deadware was. Like, Deadware has a really fun pulp charm to it that this one doesn't have. It doesn't feel pulpy. It just feels like low budget.
Yeah.
And I was afraid because for those who don't know, Deadware takes place like it's one of those screen only movies, kind of like Searching or Unfriended or something like that.
Yeah.
And the pulpiness really works well in that. This is just kind of feels like a bad documentary. So yeah, it was weird. I will eat up this man's horror films all day though. Like he's like my favorite cheesy horror director now though. It's so fun. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Nice.
And then also on the 28th, I watched for the very first time My Octopus Teacher. If you were on the Oscar train for the 2021 Oscars. You probably heard about this.
Dinosaur Train.
But it's about a guy. It's a documentary about a guy and an octopus, and they're teaching each other stuff, Micah, if you can even believe it. It's pretty much a propaganda film for being more conscious about your existence on the planet. So I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was cool. Very interesting approach to documentary filmmaking. I hope I see more stuff like it in the future. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Good film. Good stuff. And then on the 29th, what did you watch, Micah?
On the 29th.
Wow, the people have heard me long enough.
On the 29th, I watched Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Yes.
Though I did not finish it. I missed like the last 10 minutes.
We did a whole episode
which was
on it.
depressing. We did do a whole episode on it. Still a
Very
really
good.
sick movie.
Did McQuarrie do that one?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Honestly, again, McQuarrie, great Mission
such a
Impossible
good director,
director,
man.
It works so well with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Like them producing movies is really
I was
great.
about to say, they are a match made in production heaven, man.
And this isn't quite to the level of Fallout, but like I said in my review, it's pretty much as close as you can get to being as good as Fallout without being as good as Fallout.
Yeah, man, I need to rewatch Fallout, man.
Very, very good. I gave it 4.5.
Nice. I rewatched The Last Radio Call. My thoughts didn't change that much. It still has a lot of pacing problems, but yeah. What did you watch after that, Micah?
I watched. Yeah. On the way,
Micah's like, what did
I was
watch?
driving home.
You were driving home and watching something?
I wasn't driving again. I was not. Do not watch movies and drive.
You were riding
people.
home, Micah.
I was riding home, and I watched Akira Kurosawa's High and Low,
Yeah.
1963.
Shout out to Kurosawa, man.
This is, I think, honestly, like his second highest average rated movie or something. One of
Probably.
his top popular and
Yeah, this
rated
is one of the
movies.
ones he's known for.
So I was expecting great things, and I got great things. It's
have thought
super engaging. It looks beautiful. It's so cool to see Kurosawa work in a more modern setting.
Yeah, I can't wait to see some of his later stuff, man.
Dude, Dreams may not be in a modern setting, but it's more like it was made in like the 90s, and it's insanely good. But anyway, High and Low, Shoes, Ransom, super sick. It's one use of color that it has in it, which I was not expecting. Is so cool. It's just like all around a super engaging, kind of creepy thriller. And
Ooh,
I am
creepy.
yeah, for occasionally.
I did not expect that. Okay, I'm very excited now.
And I was very, very much engaged the entire time. It's a little bit of a long movie, and I loved it.
Good.
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Nice. On the 29th, I also watched, for the very first time, True Stories. David Byrne's, I believe, one and only directorial effort. A mid-'80s movie. That is basically the equivalent of a Talking Heads album as a movie.
You know, all I can think of when I hear David Burns is that one kid from the Sack Lunch Bunch going, David Burns.
David Byrne. Okay, that kid from Sack Lunch Bunch. Shout out to him.
He's doing amazing.
great,
I love
man.
him.
But yeah, True Stories. I'm a big David Byrne fan. He's like one of my favorite just creative forces ever, I think. I'm a big Talking Heads guy, and he has a very, very distinct directorial style, which I did not expect. Like, it feels like a David Byrne film, you know? Which, I mean, it makes sense. He has a very distinct, like, sound and his music and everything. He's a very distinct artist, and that's one of the things I love about him. But yeah, it's such a charming little movie. It feels like a documentary. Apparently it was inspired by a bunch of tabloid headlines that David Byrne read about a small town. And it's just really good. John Goodman is great here. He sings a whole song, Micah. John Goodman sings a whole song while wearing a cowboy hat. It's so good. It's just such a wholesome movie. It's bursting at the seams with just like really fun wholesome energy, and I love it. Great social commentary too about like late 80s politics.
Social commentary.
Oh, no, I did say it was like a Talking Heads album, Micah. But yeah, social and political commentary, very good in this as well. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Loved it. Put it in my top 50. Recommend it to everyone I know.
Speaking of politics, let's talk about the politics of Tom Cruise's Top Gun.
Yeah, we watched it for the first. This is the first movie we've watched together,
right?
Of these.
So long. But yeah, we watched Top Gun for the first time, and
movie.
Tom Cruise is squeakier than I thought he would be.
He's so squeaky when he's young.
He's like, "Hey guys, I'm Tom Cruise."
Hey guys, I'm Tom Cruise.
It was really kind of funny. But yeah, Top Gun. It wasn't quite what I was expecting it to be, but at the same time, it was like everything I was expecting it to be.
It feels like way too on the nose for what I anticipated it to be. It feels like a parody of what I thought it would be.
Like I really don't understand why this was like as big as it was, because like it's good, it's fine, but like it's kind of honestly forgettable, and it's very on the surface with all of its themes and
weird.
Action.
It's such a bizarre movie, dude.
I don't know, like it's really whack, but has that weird like, I guess 80s. I guess that would fit in the 80s.
Yeah,
that weird
80s
like body oil shirtless guys being like bro and like it's really weird. It's got that weird vibe to it. I don't know, man.
Wow.
No, like the entire thing has that like testosterone turned up to 11 energy.
Yeah, I said that it was pretty much like the pinnacle of 80s blockbuster movies. Like, I saw someone say one time that if they were going to make a parody of Top Gun, they wouldn't change anything. And that's pretty much it, yeah. Fun movie, though. I gave it a 4 out of 5. What did you give it?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Wow, who would have thought it? And then on the 30th, we watched for the very first time Swiss Army Man.
A24's Swiss Army Man.
The Daniels Swiss
Army Man. The Daniels Swiss Army Man. Another film from them after Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, before everything.
Well, yes, but
we watched it after.
Yet.
Yeah.
And man, this is a whack film.
It's so much fun.
It's really fun.
Good.
But like I think about this, would I ever recommend this to a single human being?
Would I recommend it?
I don't think I would want somebody to know that I had seen this. like if I not that I'm like ashamed of the movie, but like if somebody like watched Swiss Army Man
with you in mind.
Yeah, with me in mind, I would be like, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. Wow. I would recommend this to people. It's good.
No, it's
fantastic.
It's really good. It's surprisingly emotionally resonant, which is insane for what it is. It's probably even more absurd than Everything Everywhere All at Once.
As weird as that sounds.
It's really goofy, and somehow it works. I think it looks a lot better than Everything Everywhere All at Once, actually. Like I really loved the cinematography and production design. And
it
just
looks so good.
The craft and love that was put into this movie is insane. You guys were making Swiss Army Man.
That's man, Swiss Army Man. Paul Dano is great. This is my new favorite Daniel Radcliffe performance. He's
Daniel
so
Radcliffe.
funny here.
I love Daniel Radcliffe in this.
I don't know. It's just like a really good movie. Just solid film. I gotta admire it. It understands that Mary Elizabeth Weinstein is the perfect woman.
No, Remy, it's creepy towards
her.
No,
exactly. No, it's a cautionary tale about becoming obsessed with Mary Elizabeth Weinstein, which is something I can relate to. But yeah, Swiss Army Man, good movie. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
It was honestly, I think the most I had been audibly laughing in a while.
It's it's such a funny movie.
I also gave it a 4.5.
Yeah. And then later that night we watched Chip and Dale.
Rescue Rangers.
I was not expecting this 2022 kids movie that premiered on Disney Plus to have a stripper reference in the first like 30 seconds. But I'll take it. It was a pretty good movie.
Yeah. So this is a weird.
It's a mixed bag, man, movie. If there ever was one.
Because there's so much that's like really good that had no business being good from a movie like this.
Right.
Mainly a lot of like the creative ideas and executions I did not expect to be interesting or good at all, like in terms of the world that you're working in. Because take like Roger Rabbit, a very similar film.
I was about to
in,
say,
like,
very
every
much
way.
an inspiration for this, very clearly.
Roger Rabbit was made by Robert Zemeckis in like
man.
peak Robert Zemeckis time.
That was like him at the height of his power,
he
man.
was going hard, and like it rocks. Everything about it is pretty darn sick.
Yeah.
But you give like the modern landscape of like direct to Disney Plus movies, and you say we're gonna make a Roger Rabbit-esque movie through that, and I'm like, oh no.
You know, I will say, Who Framed Roger Rabbit inspired Disney Plus movie is somehow better than like all of the other Disney Plus movies. It is pulling from a gold mine of cinema.
Yeah, I was about to say somehow it hits like really good beats in terms of how it uses its characters and setting and so many like fun, creative, different uses of mediums. I really enjoyed like seeing different things pop up, like the sock puppet.
Yeah.
And dude, the one cheese puppet is so much fun.
Yeah.
I loved that.
It's for what it is, you know, it has a lot of like weird pacing problems and weird character stuff
and
but,
weird emotional core.
Yeah,
and...
weird. It's got a lot of weird writing decisions, but I really admire this film's creativity. It's fun.
Yeah, it's really creative. It's not doing too much, but what it is doing is just kind of a little weird in terms of its emotional execution.
Yeah, I said J.K. Simmons' Gumby detective was worth the price of admission. Like, he's quite good in this.
I give it a 3 out of 5.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Good film. I liked it. And then on the 31st, we sat down with lunch and watched Adventure Through the Walt Disney Archives.
An unfortunate time, unfortunately.
Which is basically just a Walt Disney propaganda movie.
Yeah.
As I'm finding a lot of documentaries done by Disney
like
are.
I said, the Imagineer story one is actually really good.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
But
yeah,
man, this thing was kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was
it's this
weird.
kind of not funny guy. Like the entire thing is this kind of not funny guy who's worked on like he's produced a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
But he's like worked heavily on like 2 movies, and he references them a lot.
Yeah.
But it's him going around to different places, kind of acting like it's a story, like, oh, he's just trying to make it to Walt's office. But what are these crazy different departments of the archive
Walt
he
Disney
finds along the
Archives.
way? But it's mostly just them being like, yes, this is this section of the archive, and him being like, oh my gosh, Walt stood here. Oh my gosh, Walt touched that. Oh my gosh, Walt Disney.
Yeah. Like I mentioned in my review, all of the most interesting parts of this are when they're actually showing like how they archive, like the archive process.
Which they so very rarely do
rarely.
for a film about the archive.
It's about the archives, and they only show like the archival process a couple of times throughout, and those are the most interesting parts. So, but yeah, Mark Hamill was pretty fun.
Mark Hamill was fun. He was probably the most fun thing going on, and he was in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was fun.
I gave it a 3.
All right.
On the 31st, I watched while I was working, Toy Story.
Toy Story.
The original, I was in a Toy Story mood. I was actually in like I was in a
95 one,
random
baby.
like Pixar mood.
Yeah.
And it was like Toy Story.
Hankering for some Pixar.
And man, it's just so much fun what they were accomplishing. I can't believe this was the first fully 3D animated movie. Like,
I can't believe
so
it, man.
much about this could have been terrible.
Could have been so
and
bad,
it works
man.
so well and is so much fun and so iconic in so many different ways.
It's like almost at Aladdin levels of good line readings and comedic timing.
Right?
It's so funny.
Like
dude.
90% of what carries this movie is its performances.
Right.
Which is insane for like this kind of movie.
Yeah.
But its concept is really fun. I think it's honestly using the Toy Story concept at some of its best. I still think Toy Story 2 is better.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate how simple in scale this is versus something like Toy Story 3 or 4.
It needs to be studied in screenwriting classes, Micah. It's a good, it's a darn good film, man.
But I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Cool. And then later that night, also the 31st of May, we watched The Brothers Bloom for the first time.
Yeah.
Which, as you may know, if you listen to the podcast, we're big Ryan Johnson fans. We did an episode about Knives Out. I don't think we've done one on Brick yet, but I do love Brick quite a bit. But yeah, Brothers Bloom, watched it for the first time. I really enjoyed it. Really, a lot of my opinion on this movie boils down to it's Ryan Johnson at his most indulgent to his like niche taste in writing and film, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It feels overindulgent is the problem.
This feels like Ryan Johnson took everything that he likes, like not even what he wants to write about, but just everything that he enjoys from like books and old TV shows and old movies, and was like, let's do this. Let's do this.
Let's make it into a movie, baby. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
And like it's really fun and charming.
Yeah, it's still very charming.
But like it definitely the 90% of the flaws of the movie play into the fact that it's way overindulgent and way just kind of like it just doesn't.
It feels
because of that it doesn't hit.
Yeah. It feels like Ryan Johnson at a less mature level than even like Brick, which is odd.
Again, because for Brick, like honestly, Ryan Johnson is a very what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know what the word you're looking for is.
Like a word for like he adapts and changes stylistically to very much
Versatile?
fit a genre.
A versatile film.
Not even versatile, but like if he does a genre, he very much like does the genre.
He's a big fan of media, so he pulls from a lot of classic media whenever he does a genre film.
When he did a noir, it's very much a noir.
Brick is very much a noir film.
And when he does a goofy heist magic movie, it's a weird goofy heist magic movie.
Dude, Mark Ruffalo in this. What was going on? I will say I loved Adrian Brody and Mark Ruffalo in this.
No, the performances are all really fun.
Yeah.
But it just is a little too off the walls at points.
It is.
And it doesn't feel like it fully ties together in a way that it should.
Yeah.
Especially emotionally.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I also gave it a 4 out
Good
of 5.
time.
Then on the 1st, we finally hit the month we are
June,
in.
Baby.
We're getting close. We watched Disneyland Around the Seasons, 1966.
Cool.
With
thing.
Walt himself.
He's the narrator in this one.
The holy man, I guess. I don't know. The way they treat him, man.
Man, it's just Disney adults in general.
You'd think he was Jesus, like
right?
really.
My goodness,
they're like,
man.
wait, did Walt actually touch this camera? This was his what? What?
Yeah.
But anyway, this one isn't that bad. It's just a little unengaging. Is really my only problem.
I was about to say this thing rocks like visually, and like it's really charming and fun and quaint, I think is a good word for it. It just spends way too much time showcasing its like individual sections. They just go on way too long, but it is meant to be like a tour of the new stuff at Disneyland, so it makes sense. Just in criticizing it as a documentary, it needed to be more engaging.
Right, like every time it hit like the stuff that you would be least interested in, that's when it took the longest.
It would
like
stay
there's 90% of this it feels like it's not actually feels like it's on that stupid parade. Which like the parade was fun.
The parade was cool, but like it's
not engaging.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
I also gave it a 3.5.
Oh me, oh my.
And then also on the first, I watched Toy Story 2.
Best Toy Story film.
Speak of the Devil, also known as Toy Story 2.
Yes. It's so good.
And it's like Toy Story, but like
Toy Story,
better in every
better.
way, and expanding on its themes so perfectly, introducing so many like just as good characters as the first one, which is insane.
It's the Shrek 2 of the Toy Story.
It is the Shrek 2 of the Toy Story movies.
The Toy Story universe.
It's genuinely great. It's one of my favorite animated movies, and I think it's one of the best sequels ever made.
Yeah.
I give it a 5 out of 5.
Yes.
Shout out to alternate Buzz.
It's so good.
He's great. No, honestly, I think though one other thing I want to add, even though I didn't watch Toy Story 3 in this other span, I think the one other thing that really bothers me is that Toy Story 3 and 4 feel really self-indulgent in the fact of like the Toy Story universe.
Oh yeah, they
And this
do.
is like the last go around where it feels like actually like, oh, toys in this world, that's neat.
I was about to say Toy Story 3 almost adopts this kind of legacy sequel feeling
Yeah.
that isn't present in Toy Story 2, mainly because it was made like 4 years later.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
wasn't Toy Story 3 made like
it was made in like
seven-
it was made in like
17?
2010 or something like that, like in the 2010s.
Like it was, I was about to say it
So
was
it
made
was
like
a
a good
long
like 9
time
years ago or
yeah,
something.
so it feels
Or
very
9
much
years
like
later.
it feels very much like, oh, remember this?
No, and like so much of like there's
Yeah.
like toy stuff in this, but
Yeah.
toys are still very much toys, whereas in 3 and 4 they become even less toys than they were.
Right, dude. In 4, they're just wandering everywhere.
They're just sentient beings. There's no way humans hadn't found them at this point.
Right, but yeah, fair criticism of the third movie, which we're not talking about, Mike.
I just wanted to mention that this was kind of the last go where
Yeah.
I think the Toy Story universe felt as fleshed out as it should.
It feels so
But yes, 5 out of 5.
And then on the second, me and Micah, we rented The Lost City to watch with our parents because we assumed they would enjoy it, and they did enjoy it because it's a fun movie and everyone should enjoy it. Yeah, The Lost City. I think we mentioned it last episode we did. Fun comedy. Performances by Brad Pitt and Channing Tatum are both very, very fun. The script is surprisingly succinct and good and engaging. I'm still blown away at how well paced this movie is for like a modern comedy.
like-
It's so rare.
For absolutely no reason, this movie is like surprisingly cohesive
Right?
and fun and engaging.
It feels very fluid. Like for what? No one expected this movie to be good.
there's not even a whole lot going on in the movie.
No.
Like it's that kind of simple comedy that was made like honestly throughout the 2010s, but somehow done so much better than 90% of the
So
ones
much
made
better.
in the 2010s. Channing Tatum, like you said,
Channing
his
Tatum
performance
he's
is
really the standout of this
fantastic
movie,
in this movie, which I was not
He's so
expecting
funny in
because
this.
I'm not a big Channing Tatum fan.
I've never been a big
but
Channing
having
Tatum
seen him in this and seen a little bit of 21 Jump Street,
really wanna
maybe
see
he just
21
needs to
Jump
be
Street.
cast in better things.
He just needs a good comedy director, man.
He needs to fit the right character.
Yeah.
And dude, there's so many like really weird, surprisingly fun bits. Daniel Radcliffe
Yeah.
gives a fun performance.
Yeah.
And it's
a fun
simple
movie.
and fun.
Simple, very simple movie. I liked it a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I gave it a 3.5.
Well, there you go.
Then on the second,
Well, it's still the
also on the
second,
second,
yeah.
I meant, I went back over to Haley's house for her birthday.
You can't stay away, apparently.
Whoa. And she wanted to show me Charlie's Angels, the
TV show?
2000s movie
The 2000s movie.
with Cameron Diaz.
Oh, man.
And I just lost her name. And Lucy Liu. There's
Oh,
one other
nice.
girl.
I mean,
what's
I
her
don't
name?
know. I don't know who else is in
It's
Charlie's Angels.
she would kill me for this because that's Hilary Duff or whatever, I think. That doesn't sound right.
I don't know. just
I
continue.
have no idea.
I'm looking at it.
Anyway, you claimed that Daredevil was the most like 2000s thing you felt, but no, I guarantee if you watched this, you would say that this was the most 2000s thing. Drew Barrymore, that's who it is. This is like the most 2000s thing. Like I've never seen a movie more 2000s than this.
Fair enough.
From its action to its premise to its soundtrack to its CG to its like everything. Even one of my biggest problems with it, which is the way it treats women and race, which is really uncomfortably.
LL Cool J is in it.
Drew Barrymore opens up with doing like the equivalent of Mission Impossible blackface.
Oh no. What? Oh no.
And they don't really rise above that bar. And like this was
What?
this was directed by a guy and written by
Obviously.
several guys.
Well, Micah, all directors are men.
Obviously. And
This
I
is
know
pre-2010s.
Charlie's Angels kind of shtick is like they use their sexuality as like to their advantage. They use it to be good spies. But you can have that without the camera feeling like it's drooling over the women every second it can. Like every second it can. It's not even when they're like specifically trying to be seductive.
Oh man.
It's like they'll be doing a random thing and it'll be like lingering on their butt or something. It's really kind of creepy to watch that aspect of the film. And the way it treats especially Cameron Diaz's character is really kind of uncomfortable. I really don't like it. Beyond the fact that I just am not a big Cameron Diaz fan.
Yeah.
But like that really detracted from what is otherwise a pretty darn fun movie with a lot of really fun bits and some decently good action.
Unexpected.
And like the actresses, the main actresses give good performances. I just really didn't like the way that they were treated and the way it treats other races.
Fair enough.
I gave it 3 stars. Sorry.
Yeah. On the second, while he was gone, I watched the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid adaptation, 2021. I say new. I mean, I guess it's new. Yeah. It's no Diary of a Wimpy Kid 2010.
Okay, but 2010.
But what is?
Dude, 2010 is
that movie's so good, man.
2010. It's not even like that good of a movie.
It
but
is
like
it is
the
a
elements,
banger,
the
man.
elements that are good in it are like out of the water fantastic. Dude,
It's
Greg
so much
Heffley.
fun. Greg Heffley,
Greg
in the
and Rowley
2010.
and Roderick and like
Yes.
every casting choice in the 2010. We're not even talking about the 2010s one, but like it's so good.
Yeah. 2021 animated version should not exist. It doesn't bring anything new to the table. The elements of it that are good because the book has good elements.
Good because story, not because
Exactly, yeah. Not really because it feels like an animated TV show pilot and not a movie.
Yeah.
It really needs a better creative force behind it and just much better sound editing.
Honestly,
and just regular editing in general.
I haven't seen it, but honestly, most people that I saw talking about it pretty much said that it feels like you copy pasted Diary of a Wimpy Kid, even the movie, like the other movie, made it animated in a weird style that's supposed to emulate the books.
The animation doesn't even look bad. Like, it just looks weird.
And like just like sucked it of all of its actual good cinematic like life. Like it's just exactly Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Dude, it has some like punchy stylistic shot choices in it, but it's the soundscape is so dry that none of it hits, and it made me so sad. I'm like, ah. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't nearly as bad as a lot of people I know seem to think it is. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And then on the third, me and Micah watched Oliver and Company for the first time,
which I have a weird relationship with. In terms of when growing up,
we have a weird backstory for Oliver and Company.
When growing up, we found these things that were like storybook audio drama recreation using clips of the movie
so weird.
to retell the story in like 20 minutes. And we, or at least I, turned on the Oliver and Company.
I remember
one
these
all the time. Like there was a Beauty and the Beast one. There was an Oliver. I don't even know what these are. Maybe somebody else remembers what these are.
They were like storybook something.
But they used actual just clips from the movies.
Yeah, they used like dialogue snippets from the movies, and they used like clips of the songs and stuff with narration.
So that was my experience with this film before I ever watched it.
This would be such a weird movie to watch that way.
And I remember it being really like weird, and like the story is really weird.
It is,
and
weird,
it turns out it was.
It's so weird. It's just like this weird artifact of the 80s. I said it was like an 80s anime that America made. But like it's I don't know how else to describe it, but weird. It was fun. It has some really fun like character animation in it. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the main like cast of characters. I don't know. I know it's like a Charles Dickens like adaptation. I'm not familiar with the story of Oliver in any like capacity. So.
Right. This doesn't seem like the story of Oliver that I know, but I've never actually watched Oliver.
I've never seen like something that's supposed to be a faithful adaptation of it. Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know. It's really weird. I honestly would describe it as feeling very similar to like the Aristocats. It's like 80s The Aristocats.
Yeah, that's a good description of it.
A lot of problems between the two are kind of similar in kind of its aimlessness and weird decisions.
So weird.
But it's really just like, it's a fun movie. It's a fine movie. Like, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it. I can sing along with the songs, which is really weird because I had never watched the movie. Like, I never watched the movie ever, but I'm like, because I got streets of love.
I will say, that is one thing I really will praise about this movie. Its character animation. Okay, two things I'll really praise about this movie. Its character animation and how unconventional a lot of its music is for a Disney movie. I haven't really heard another Disney movie that sounds like this one does.
Yeah.
And I think it's all the better for it. I really like the soundtrack.
But man, the story is so weird.
It's so weird.
I don't know, man. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Also on the 3rd, technically Oliver and Company was the night before, but it was late enough. But on the 3rd, we watched Guava Island.
Guava Island.
Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, Guava Island 2019.
Yeah, 2019, baby.
And man, this is really up my alley in terms of filmmaking.
Yeah, it is.
This kind of feels like it's not obviously something I would make, but it kind of feels like it feels like the filmmaking equivalent of something I would want to make.
Yeah, it does.
With similar problems to what I usually run into with stuff I make.
It actually, the way True Stories was like a Talking Heads album as a movie, this is basically a Childish Gambino album as a movie.
Well, it's not even. I think this is
it has a lot
perfectly
of
the summer EP release kind of weird thing.
Yeah.
Personified as a movie.
Yeah.
Because like I think that's honestly a very messy couple songs in terms of togetherness.
It feels somehow too long and too short at the same time.
I don't know about the too long. I really loved the atmosphere and just being in the movie.
That I said in my review, the small moments and stuff in this are so sweet and nice and pleasant.
And I really like it really does feel like it's trying to be more of an artistic piece than it's pulling off, unfortunately.
Yeah, it feels like its ambitions as a piece of art are bigger than its ability as a piece of art.
And unfortunately, I think some of that does come into the fact that Childish Gambino's music doesn't really fit everywhere here. It feels a little clunkily included.
Yeah, it does not mesh well a lot of the time with the stuff here, especially This Is America. That is like the most painful scene to watch in this movie, man.
And there are a lot of really weird moments that come out of Donald Glover's performance that just feel really out of place with the rest of what the movie's trying to do. It's not even that it's bad. I don't think it's bad, but like, why is this here in this moment?
Rihanna is wasted here, man.
See, I saw so many people complain. I thought Rihanna was used really well.
No, she's great in what she's in, but like she didn't even get to sing or anything in this.
That's true. But like outside of her not singing, like I don't know.
I just wish she was in it.
I really liked her.
I just wanted her to be in it more.
But yeah, it comes down to this really weird thing where like some of my biggest character problems come down to Donald Glover's performance, and it's really weird in like a Donald Glover picture, even though he didn't direct, that he kind of made himself like the weird martyr for music and culture and art.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's odd. It's an odd film.
But what it's doing, I really like. Cinematography, gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
Lighting, gorgeous. Production design, gorgeous.
This is one of the best, like, low-budget movies I've seen, and one of the best-looking low-budget movies I've ever seen. The cinematography and blocking and everything is just...
It actually really reminds me of Kurosawa's Dreams, but, like, sloppily executed.
Fair enough.
And its writing, that is.
Yeah.
But I give it 4 stars.
I gave it I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it too. I thought it was fun. And later that night we watched Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore. Don't worry, guys, we're almost there.
We are. We're like a couple movies away.
But yeah, Secrets of Dumbledore. It's better than Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah, it's not an utter disaster.
No, it's
but
not.
it's an absolute boring, depressing piece of nothingness.
I
If that makes sense.
wanted to like it so bad, and it feels like a great cinematic triumph compared to Crimes of Grindelwald.
Right.
I'm like, look, they're actually like focusing on character stuff.
There's
in
actually
this.
moments in the movie.
There's like stuff happening, and I'm like, yay! But I'm like, wait a minute, this is like the lowest bar,
Right.
for a movie.
It's so boring.
Oh yeah, man, it's just like largely unengaging,
And the
for
plot
a lot
is
of the movie.
so flimsy. Like it's actively so two or three major things happen in the entire 2.5-hour runtime.
Oh man,
Like
yeah.
most of it is like nobody can know the entire plan.
And I'm
We've
like, I
gotta
sure would
hide.
like to know.
And then like the entire plan was pretty much them just like goofing around as to like
Right.
goofing around trying to make the audience think something interesting was happening to confuse Grindelwald.
No, the moment they said no one can know the full plan, I'm like, oh no, we're not gonna give anything interesting for the next hour.
Nothing important happens at all.
Yeah.
Like in the end of the movie, they don't pull off anything like Ocean's 11-y and cool, like of not telling every. Like literally, the character who just wasn't in like. Spoilers
so
for the
funny,
movie. I
dude.
know it's recent, but
My
she's
goodness.
given the case. She walks out of the movie. She's not in the movie. At the very end, we're at the place where the case sure would be useful, and she just walks up
She
and
just
she's like, "I
walks up.
had the case the whole time. Nobody could know the whole thing." And we're like, "What do you mean? What are
Yeah.
you talking about?"
It's a very dumb movie, but I admire its gumption for existing.
I do not support J.K. Rowling, and I really wish she would just
No.
get off of screenplay writing.
Oh yes, please, my goodness.
Why?
Not a good screenwriter.
I gave it 2 stars.
I gave it a 2.5. It is not bad, but it is not good.
I think it's kind of bad
It's
with
kind
just
of
with
bad.
just how empty and gray and dry.
Yeah,
And the
I
only
guess.
stuff that actually feels like something is when Newt is doing stuff, because I genuinely
Exactly.
think that's a fun character.
Yeah.
But again, the Fantastic Beasts have been so drowned out that literally he's only in this movie and the last movie because he's semi-important to the MacGuffin that's in the movie for 5 seconds.
Man, disappointing. to
Like
say
they
the
literally
least.
rob him of his his case, so
Right.
he's just like completely
He's
out of
just
his
some
element.
guy. He's just some awkward wizard guy. That's all he is.
And even the magic is. I could talk about this movie for way too
Okay.
long. Magic is used terribly in this
It
movie.
is.
It's such a bad use of the Harry Potter universe.
It could have been set anywhere, dude. But yeah.
Yeah, 2 stars.
What else did you watch, Micah?
On the 4th, I watched Scooby-Doo Adventures: The Mystery Map.
The mystery man.
I think it's one of the only movies set in the pup. The pup. Why did I just lose it? It's like the pup Scooby-Doo or something. This man, what is
The
that
puppy
called?
do.
What is that called? The
I don't know.
series where it's just Scooby, like when he's a puppy and all of them are young.
I have no idea what
A
you're
pup
talking
named
about.
Scooby-Doo or something
Oh
like that.
wow! I did not know this.
Um,
I don't know Scooby-Doo lore, Micah.
So they're all young, they're kids. That's
Oh,
cool. This is
interesting.
Scooby-Doo. This is shape-shifting Scooby-Doo. Like he gets a Scooby snack and he can shape-shift.
What? There's
And-
like advanced lore.
and it's really like
Oh my goodness.
so many people hate this movie. It's 50 minutes. So many people hate it.
Is it a feature? Is it counted as feature?
I
length?
count it as feature length.
Okay.
I don't know if it actually is on Letterboxd.
Probably, yeah.
Like there are other 50-minute things that are
Yeah,
counted.
yeah.
But it's puppets, and that's so
That's so
sick.
cool.
It's so cute
Puppets
and
are
fun.
cool.
People are like, "Oh, the jokes don't work." I think the jokes work. I thought it was funny.
I mean, for when I was up there, it was pretty funny.
It's like that dry Disney Channel or just Disney Junior 5 a.m. humor, but like I
Yeah.
really like that. It's really stupid, and the plot is so flimsy, but because it's kind of like riding on the edge of even existing, it
Yeah.
kind of works, and I really enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars.
Fair enough.
The puppet work is really fun.
And also on the 4th, we watched The Man from U.N.C.L.E. for the very first time. My
Guy
third
Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie movie, and this is considerably better than the rest of his stuff that I've seen. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a really like fun spy movie, which is kind of weird to find in the 2010s outside of like Mission Impossible.
Right. Like, and this kind of felt like it was like it could have teed itself up to be almost Mission Impossible levels of like good. Like this is like Mission Impossible 3 levels of good.
Yeah,
you could have
I don't know.
you could have teed up a really like it. Okay, Mission Impossible 3, really flashy, a little bit lacking on substance.
I think Mission Impossible 3 has a lot to offer as a film.
All I'm saying is it's good, and it feels like it was just on the same tier as some of the Mission Impossible movies, save for a little bit of the richness in the background that makes the Mission Impossible movies so enduring.
Yeah, I think it's a little surface level is my really my biggest complaint.
Yeah, I think just overall the way the plot and the mystery plays out is kind of weird character moment wise.
Yeah.
The what's her face's whole character thing that happens later on is
kind of dumb.
Weird and dumb. And outside of that, though, like the leads are really fun. I don't even like Armie Hammer at all, but like he's fun in this.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's great. I was worried because Henry Cavill can either be really, really fun or the most boring person in the world.
Yeah, I was about to say either he's like really fun and pulpy, or he's just like giving the most bland performance ever.
And I thought this was pretty darn fun for him.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
There was some fun creative decisions and some fun casting stuff, some fun lines, some fun action set pieces. Overall, a fun movie.
I liked the split screen stuff.
Split screen was cool.
Very cool. I also liked the like direct missile, like ginormous missile hit on a tiny boat.
that was pretty great.
That was pretty good.
They sent a whole warhead after the boat.
But yeah, fun movie. I give it a 4 out of 5.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Alrighty.
And then this very afternoon.
Here we go.
This very afternoon.
Wow.
I watched Disney Nature's Monkey Kingdom, narrated by the one, the only Tina Fey.
She's pretty good on 30 Rock, Mike. I will say.
And these two, okay, it's been a while since I watched Born in China. We watched it in theaters when it came out.
Yeah.
And I remember it being pretty okay.
It was, it was all right.
A little emotional in it, if I remember, sitting in the theater.
Michael was crying in the club.
A little emotional at Born in China. But apparently that was a high bar to set for these to be taking themselves seriously at all. Because I have now watched 2 other of Disney Nature's documentaries, both of them being about specific animal species instead of just like an entire region. And they're so weird the way they approach them. Instead of like teaching you stuff about it, I mean, obviously it teaches you stuff about it because it shows you their society and them, but it like does this weird thing where it tries really hard to deliver a narrative story out of the life of these animals, and it does it in a really
grasping at a fog.
It does it in a really weird, goofy way. Like John C. Reilly did the bear one. It's got like the weirdest pop music drops, and this one's got like Tina Fey being like, "Oh, what a sexy monkey" or something like that. Like it's just really weird, trying to be like pulpy and interesting. And like trying to grasp at straws to make a story, but I really honestly would have loved this really beautiful, amazing footage they captured to just be telling me about what these monkeys do.
Yeah,
that would be better. And I mean, like the story this one crafted, Monkey Kingdom, crafted is fine. Like it's interesting. It's pretty cohesive as the nature documentary stories go. But it still feels like they're
not
really,
a high bar.
It still feels like they're really grasping to try and make something narratively happen and like some kind of emotional thing go on. And it just, I don't know, it just makes it feel really mid for some really beautiful filmmaking. Like the documentary filmmaking is really, I mean, they're professional film, like nature photographers and videographers, but like it's so like there are some shots that are I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gorgeous.
Micah finished Monkey Kingdom and said mid.
No, there's this shot at night that's like the moon framed off to the right through the jungle, like really big, massive, and this peacock sticks its head perfectly in the center of the moon.
That is a long lens,
making this silhouette that literally looks like the Ninja Kiwi logo. It's amazing.
Shout out to Ninja Kiwi for real.
It's a really beautiful shot.
Wow.
But like the movie itself is like aggressively goofy and weird with Tina Fey, and I don't know how I feel about that. I give it 3 out of 5.
Well, there you go, guys. We watched a bunch of first watches, actually.
Whew,
like
yeah.
a surprising amount. Like I only had 3 rewatches over the course of that
I had
time.
5, which is not very many.
Yeah, like we watched so many movies. But yeah, thank you for listening through this whole thing.
Yeah.
We're at like the hour and a half mark now, so.
Yeah. Definitely go check out Badlands.
Swiss Army Man was great.
Swiss Army Man, if you're old enough.
Yeah, if you're old enough to watch it.
High and Low.
Brothers Bloom was fun.
Close Up, very, very good. I would definitely suggest it, especially to get yourself cultured. Watch some different culture cinema.
If you're old enough for it, Ambulance is also fantastic. And Holes. Go to watch Holes.
And just spend your summer watching good movies. That's the moral of the story.
That's my recommendation.
That's what you should do with your summer.
Wow.
That's what everybody should do with their summer.
That's what everyone should do with their lives, Mike.
Well, I don't know about that.
Wow.
Yeah, good movies, good. Bad movies, bad. Mid movies, mid.
Very insightful. Thank you. Tune in next week. We'll be talking about War for the Planet of the
War
Apes.
for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Woot woot.
See you then.
Bye.